Hello, everybody. As you can tell, I'm not Carl, much to your discomfort, I am sure. But myself and Annie are here to talk about another weekend in the Sky Bet Championship. So, first and foremost, Annie, before we make you suffer to talk about, your result later on, taking away football, how's life settling in at uni?
Not bad. Not bad. Apart from the internet, which is bad, worse than bad. I was just saying, fair. I've had to connect to the Ethernet. That's how bad this is. And that horrible light, which I can't do anything about, which is really, really annoying me. And I'm sure is an annoyance to everyone watching as well. I'm going to try and do that for the whole of the stream. That's not going to work. Apart from that, it's not bad. Yeah, start lectures tomorrow, which is going to be fun. 9 a.m. starts and all that. So yeah, looking forward to all of that.
Oh, have you got one of those schedules where you have like a lecture at 9 a.m., then you're only there for like an hour, and then you've got the whole day to pretty much just do nout?
No. I've got 9 a.m. and then I've got 3 hours. So until 12, and then I've got the whole day off. So it's not
Okay.
it's not terrible.
I was going to say, and then the first day, you're probably not going to. It's pretty much just going to be meeting and introducing everybody, isn't it? So,
I mean, to be fair, we've had a week for that, so probably
oh,
not. So
oh well, fair enough then.
straight into the content.
You can just tell everyone I'm just this hipster Bristol City fan in the Midlands, and just like on YouTube and everything else, just saying that us
We'll see.
build up,
Yeah,
just trying to build up your street credit here. So,
yeah. Street
and,
credit.
and so if anyone from Annie's university friends are watching this, I am definitely not a cool individual. So my sincere apologies for that. But there you go.
Stop watching now.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, put it this way. I mean, I'm not too bad. Obviously Sunderland lost yesterday to Man United, but I suppose it's better losing to Man United than losing to Cheltenham Town or something in League One, which we were doing 3.5 years ago.
Or
So,
QPR at home.
sorry.
Or QPR at home.
Relatable. We lost to them at home last season, so I can't say now. Although it was when we were preparing for the playoffs, but still, you know what? I'm not going to complain. Most of the teams I wanted to lose, who I think will be in the relegation battle, did lose. So I'm like, meh, all right, we'll see. I'm not going to. I can't complain too much with our start. But this isn't about Sunderland. This is about the championship. So I'll tell you what. We would normally go in a chronological sort of order, as in we start maybe with the Friday night game. But I thought we would probably start with today's game, which is Ipswich 3, Norwich 1, which my good mate Chris Reeve, who is of Talk Norwich City, I'll not make him suffer listen to me talking about this because, yeah, Derby defeats suck, and I had to.
He was front and central at the end, wasn't he?
Oh, was that banner when Marcelino Nunes
Absolutely,
went up to us?
yeah.
What was it like? Marcelino Nunes, what a beauty! Because someone screenshotted a tweet from like 3 years ago he put, and then it was
No,
just on display.
it was Marcelino Nunez build the statue.
Oh my, that's brutal. Oh,
That's
poor
horrible.
Chris. Oh, poor Chris. Oh, God. You know what? I'm actually dreading when we play Newcastle in December. I beg we don't lose. But anyway, right. No, but obviously the big narrative and the big story from today is that is Ipswich Town's first win in the East Anglian Derby for 16 years, which is, and I can't remember how long it is. How many
Is that the big narrative?
Well, I'd say it is. That's a
I'd say,
huge
well,
one.
that's no. I'd say. Don't want to interject.
Well, that's a big local narrative, to be fair.
That's probably two absolutely humongous
Right, hang on.
narratives.
Are we talking? Are you trying to create a narrative about Liam Manning not doing very well?
I was talking about. I was going to talk about Ben Napper, to be honest.
Well, we'll talk about the game first, then we'll talk about Ben Napper because there is
Yeah.
quite a bit of pressure on him, and obviously Liam Manning, not music to Annie's ears whatsoever. But right, let's start with the game. So I don't know what you thought, but I thought obviously I'm assuming you watched it. If
Yeah.
you did, okay, fair enough. I think we were actually sort of getting Sunday dinner and everything sorted, but I had the game on like my phone on ITV. So while I was sorting everything else, I did watch the whole first half, and I watched quite a bit of the second. I thought the game was quite stop start. Well, not stop start. That's the wrong word. It's a bit like cagey and sort of slightly end to end in the first half an hour. Typical derby game. No one wants to make too many errors. But then, lo and behold, we get 2 goals in less than 5 minutes. Cedric Keepray ends up putting Ipswich ahead from a set piece, which wasn't particularly great defending from Norwich. Then a few minutes later, Oscar Schwartau, and my pronunciation is terrible, so I apologise for that, equalised, which was a pretty strange goal. A few minutes later, where a ball comes in from a corner, it's headed out. Schwartau on the edge of the penalty box. It has a long range shot, and now it's just me talking at the moment. We'll blame Andy's internet for that, but I will keep talking away. No, Oscar Schwartau, with thanks to the aid of a deflection, equalised for Norwich City. And I'll mention this. I'll get Annie's view on it when he comes back on. But my God, Jaden Philogene, what an absolute stunner! And if you haven't seen it, go and watch it. It's right up there for one of the goals of the season already, in my opinion. It is absolutely world class finish for the championship. Basically, Jaden Philogene. It's a bit of a loose ball. I think it was from a loose pass from someone from Norwich. Jaden Philogene gets the ball, turns his man, and then runs, and from about probably 25, 30 yards, absolutely unleashes a shot that flies and rockets into the top left corner of the Norwich goal. And honestly, I think every Ipswich fan will probably savour that moment for a long, long time to come. And I think that was a crucial one because that was literally right before half time. And obviously the nerves around this game for Ipswich fans would have been, obviously, there's been a number of occasions where Ipswich have gone ahead in the derby. There we go. Don't worry, Annie. I've been in your situation where the internet's been terrible, so I'm going to say absolutely nothing on that. But I'll quickly get your opinion on this. I obviously described the first two goals, and I just mentioned Jaden Philogene. That's the statement. That is, for me, it's going to be hard to top that as goal of the season, especially from a long range strike. The venom, the rocket, the rocket of the shot, the power on it, the way it was just absolutely flying into the top left corner. It is honestly one of the best goals I've seen in the championship for quite some time, and I think it's a fantastic finish. And Ipswich fans will quite rightly remember that for God knows how long in a derby game.
When we talk about goal of the season and stuff, we won't necessarily take into account the context of the game and the situation. And, Norwich have just scored. There's probably that sinking feeling within Ipswich fans of, oh my God, we're not going to beat Norwich again.
Yeah.
And then Jaden Philogene goes, nope, and just literally just takes it and then goes,
I believe Jaden Philogene does this.
F it, and hits it with his weaker left foot as well. And just absolutely pummels it into the corner. I've seen some criticism of Kovacevic in Norwich's goal. I mean,
that's a great goal, though. I think
can't really do much about that. I mean, he's a big, lanky figure, Kovacevic, but that is just ridiculous.
He was a little bit shaky in the build-up to the corner that led to their first goal. But yeah, I mean, I think it's very hard to blame him for that. It's just a well-hit shot. What about the track boys today? Yeah, no, well, for them, it's absolutely massive. And this was hilarious. What a strike for a 9-year-old, according to the EFL page. Yeah, that was quite funny. 9-year-old Oscar Schwartau for Norwich. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he legally can't play in a game like that. But yeah, we'll slide over that. 16 years well worth of it. Yeah, I mean, but honestly, it was a fantastic goal. And I think that not just for the occasion of the game, I think it's just objectively a brilliant hit from Philogene. And I think this is the thing, and Annie will be sick of these words, parachute payments, all the time. But that is what Ipswich are able to sign, because it was 20-25 million they bought him for in January.
Don't think it was that much, but it was still quite a bit. Yeah,
I think it was at least 20 million. I'm pretty sure it was. I could be wrong on that. Someone might want to double check.
But because I think Villa signed him in the summer, didn't they?
They signed him back from Hull, didn't they?
Yeah, because they had like a weird buyback clause.
Yeah. Well, I suppose for them, from PSR, it makes sense because you signed him. It was 13 million they bought him back for, I think, and then they ended up selling him for probably 20+ million. So from their point of view, it's obviously really good business. But having said all of that, I mean, it's fun. It's a well hit strike, and I think he's now, what is it, like his 5th goal in something like 3 or 4 games? I think it is.
Yeah.
So that's I mean,
anyway.
By the way, like I said, just goes to prove with Ipswich, when you can start Jaden Philogene and then later on in the game, no worries, Jack Clark can just come on. And you go, wow. And by the way, from a selfish point of view, I'm so happy to see that Jack Clark scored today because, I'm someone who stands by that. I think he has been wasted at Ipswich, and I think that obviously Philogene's going to start ahead of him because they both play on the left, so that's fair enough. I've got no complaints with that. But obviously Jack Clark gets in amongst the goals. The third goal, which was one of the bigger talking points, and I'm sure Annie will agree, Marcelino Nunes came off the bench.
What a ball.
Yeah, I was going to say, what a pass through. I think it was a George Hurst, who I believe had the initial shot.
I think it was Ivan Azon.
Ivan Azon, that's it, okay. And obviously a shot that comes off the right post. Obviously, it's pretty standard. It falls back to Jack Clark. The keeper's in no man's land. Keeper tries to come out to save the initial effort. Obviously, he's well away from the goal, and then Clark finishes it. And I think from that point of view, for Clark, it's obviously good to come off and get a goal. But obviously, at that point, at 2-1, as you know, Ipswich have been ahead in these games quite a few times and not won. So, I mean, I'm thinking of the one, was it in 2018 or 2019, I think it was? No, 2018, when they led at Carrow Road.
So 89, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, 89 minutes. So yeah, I think it was Luke Chambers scored at Carrow Road, and then Tim Close obviously scored with the last kick of the game. So Ipswich fans would have probably had PTSD when they're only ahead by 1 goal and going, "Please win this bloody game." But from that moment,
I think it was that game where Mick McCarthy told the Ipswich fans to F
to
off.
F off, yeah, I was
Yeah,
going to say, yeah. I mean, yeah, Mick McCarthy can't do that, can he? He can't. But yeah,
it can.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, so obviously for what a day for Ipswich Town fans. So we'll get onto Norwich in a minute, but from Ipswich's point of view and from Kieran McKenna's point of view, obviously there's been a bit of a and about stop starting in Ipswich's season to some degree. It's been like there's been described as moments for them without fully hitting the heights that we know their squad's capable of. Now, obviously, you saw them against Bristol City on Tuesday night, but you look at it from their point of view, a 3-game week has ended with wins over Portsmouth and crucially Norwich, and I'd say a good draw at Bristol City for them in the end. So I think you've got for Ipswich, it's a good win and to go into the international break. But yeah, let's talk about Norwich, because obviously I know you mentioned Ben Napper earlier, so let's quickly talk about this. Is Liam Manning under pressure at Norwich? Speaking of ex-Norwich, looks like Russell Martin is about to be the shortest ever Rangers manager. Quickly on Russell Martin, not a surprise, and I know Annie will be absolutely...
What a surprise.
Annie, it can, guys, feel for Annie. Behind all of the smiles and all of the jaws going upwards in his face, he's really devastated that Russell Martin isn't working out at
I am
Glasgow
absolutely
Rangers.
shocked.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely. Because what happens when you say just do plan A better? Hey, Russell, how about that? Maybe you need a plan B from time to time. But there you go. But speaking of, so let's start with Liam Manning, then we'll go on to Ben Napper. This has not helped Liam Manning's cause, and I think obviously Norwich weirdly have been pretty good away from home in terms of results. But when you look at some of the underlying data in the last couple of away games, and I think we mentioned this last week. Am I right in thinking they gave up a total of over 50 shots against Coventry City and Stoke City? That's alarming. And this game will not have helped Manning's cause, will it?
I thought they were, from a Norwich perspective, I thought they were competitive in the first half,
Yeah, I agree.
and it wasn't a game of too many chances. It was a lot of sort of hard working in the midfield, which I thought probably suited Norwich because they've got Mirko Topic, got Kenny McLean, they've got Pella Matson in midfield, who I thought probably were a better suit for that sort of hustle and bustle, run type of game. So I thought Norwich relatively were pretty decent at that. But second half, no.
The
Absolutely
game just got
terrible.
away from them, didn't it?
No, yeah, they didn't look a threat going forward. Sargent had nothing. He kept Ante Sayanac on for the full 90. Just baffling. Sayanac has been missing for pretty much 3 games running, and he's somehow still on the pitch. Oscar Schwartau, who I thought was a pretty bright spark for Norwich and actually scored the goal, and I thought he was pretty decent. He got brought off for Makama, or might have been Makama. Yeah, it was Makama. And I don't think, to be fair to Manning, I'm not looking at the bench right now for Norwich and going, there's a hell of a lot he can sort of change in terms of profiles, but it's still not good enough. Still not good enough. And they were completely sort of outclassed in the second half, which will infuriate Norwich fans because they've always had the upper hand on Ipswich, and they've always sort of had, they might have sometimes been on an even keel, and maybe sometimes Ipswich had the better season, but Norwich have always found a way. They've always just found a way, and they didn't find a way, and that will have infuriated Norwich. And I think we can safely assume that Liam Manning is the most under pressure manager in the Championship, or safely conclude that even. You just have to scroll through the Twitter replies on the full-time post on Talk Norwich City when I think it was Jack who put out the video after the game.
Yeah, I've seen it in from the golf buggy.
I think he says that might be Liam Manning done at Norwich. His time might be done, and I'm like, wow, that's some statement. I don't know. I think Norwich fans went into the season going not wanting another transition season,
which is fair enough.
Yeah, because they've had one before that. They look like they're going to have another transition season, and that's a massive frustration. And to be honest, not to be honest, the words that were coming out from Ben Napper and Manning at the start of the season was, this is not going to be another transition season. This is going to be a here now season where we're going to try and push up the table and get competitive near the top of the division, unlike last season for Norwich. That's not happened, and honestly, I don't see. It doesn't look like it's going to happen either, from my point of view, because I'm not seeing anything from Norwich. I'm not seeing Manning trying to integrate a style of play that's obvious. I'm not seeing sort of profile of players being built up. I'm seeing strange, baffling decisions. Um, I don't know. I don't know about you, Michael, but would I be utterly shocked if Ben Napper pulls the plug during the international break? No, no, I wouldn't.
I'm in two minds. I would and I wouldn't be surprised. I think because Ben, obviously, I think Jack did make a point about, and he's right. By the way, go and watch Talk Norwich City. It's a fantastic YouTube channel. I'd really recommend it. But he made a point, and I think it's probably quite fair, that as a sporting director, you can maybe get one appointment wrong. This was pretty much his words. I might be paraphrasing slightly, but he said something along the lines of that you can maybe get away with getting one appointment wrong. Getting two wrong in a row is, yeah, that's not a good look for him. And I think with Ben Napper, obviously since he's come in, obviously, I mean, Johannes Hoff-Turup was his first proper appointment as a head coach. Obviously, he came in during a period where David Wagner was there, but obviously he obviously got them in the playoffs season before last. Obviously got, as I'm sure Carl behind the scenes will love, he got beat comfortably by Leeds in the playoff semi-finals. But obviously since then, it's kind of, obviously they're separated. I think, yeah, you've got to look at Ben Napper. I think Ben Napper in particular is under pressure with this. And I think, and I might be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure that the hierarchy said, no, we want top six at the start of the season. And for good reason, by the way, because I believe Norwich could either one of, if not the most expensive season ticket prices in the Championship. And I think that is, and remember, they're not a parachute payment club anymore. So that for me would create a fair amount of expectation. Keeping Josh Sargent in the summer for them was huge, but it's obviously come at the cost. Right now, it won't feel good because they sold Marcelino Nunez to their bitter rivals, and he ends up contributing to the goal that kills the game off against them. So that obviously isn't good. I think they've done, like I said, I think business-wise, I like some of the stuff that they've done. And I think you find even Chris Reeve, for example, on Talk Norwich City, says this, that some of the business they've done in the summer that has on paper been good. But the problem with that is it's not translating into not just results, but a kind of style of play at the moment. It just seems to me like the kind of, I don't want to use the word phrase plodding along, but I can't really think of any other one. It's like stumbling along, kind of. And don't get us wrong. I mean, you can't fault the fact, you've gone away from home to Portsmouth, which is not an easy place to go. You've won. Blackburn had 10 men from pretty much half the game, but you still had to go and do a job and win that. You get a points away at Coventry and Stoke, and obviously the results themselves are good results based on this season. But the performances, with the amount of territory and shots they've given up, has been, you would very much argue they were very lucky to come out of both of them with points. Now I know Coventry in particular was a last minute goal, wasn't it? But the problem for them is, and I believe this is the other side of the argument, they've lost 4 games, I believe, in the Championship in a row at home, and that I
5.
think 5. Sorry, I keep thinking. Well, so is it 6 in all competitions then, including that
Yeah,
Southampton
yeah,
defeat?
yeah.
Yes. So that's
Jeez.
not good. That is not good enough. That is, and to put into context, like the loss at home to Millwall, you can on the opening day of the season, you can go, okay, well, not fair enough. You don't want to be losing at home to anyone in the league, really. But Millwall, okay, new team coming together. There's a few players in there that need to get a gel know each other. Okay, whatever. Middlesbrough, obviously not a bad team this season, and only suffered their first defeat yesterday at Pompey. So, and obviously, I think Norwich had 10 men, I believe, at the back end of that game. So, okay, you can not let it slide, but you can just say move on from it quicker. What was the one after that? Wrexham is the particularly bad one, I think. And don't get me wrong.
It was a terrible performance as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And remember, they were 1-0 up at half time as well. So, they've essentially thrown away 3 points there, if you want to look at it that way in simplistic terms. Apparently, and I didn't see much of the game, but apparently against West Brom it was better. They did create some chances. And to be fair, from what I saw, the highlights they did, the problem is it looking better compared to the abject turd that they've probably produced at home so far this season, or is it objectively good, what they've done? Now, I know, obviously, you'll know this much better than me. The narrative around Liam Manning seems to be that wherever he starts off, it does take time to get into the swing of things, to get into the rhythm of things. The problem with that is for Norwich, as you say, they've just had a season of transition. They shouldn't really be expected to have to go through another one. And I'm just looking at it and I'm thinking, to get back to your original point, after my 5-minute waffle, but that surprises nobody at this point. Your original point, I wouldn't be. I would be. I'm leaning towards. I would be more surprised if Manning did get sacked as opposed to didn't, only because Ben Napper appointed him, and I think he needs to be seen to stick with him. And I think one of the things that he could be quite fortunate, Liam Manning, at the moment. Okay, look, it's not good for Norwich at the minute. Obviously, they're much closer to the relegation zone than they are the playoffs, which is mad when you think about it. But a couple of results in this league, as you know, changes it like that. But that needs to happen. It's one thing me saying it; it needs to actually happen. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, okay. Well, but like I said, I wouldn't be surprised one way or another. But in one way or another, if this season doesn't work out, then Ben Napper's really going to be under fire. Put it that way.
Yeah, I agree with your point. Or yes, your point is right about it does take time for Manning sides to sort of fully get going. We had 6 months where we weren't. Well, we had a few months where we were pretty terrible, and then ended that season pretty well, and then had the summer, and then obviously last season was fantastic. But there was that initial period of pain, and actually, I watched Manning's post-match presser in length about after today's game, and he said, "Oh, I've had similar periods at Bristol. Bristol, don't call us Bristol, Liam.
I must admit, quickly as a neutral, that annoys the hell out of me when people do that.
Don't
But
call
yeah,
us Bristol.
it's
He's
just
managed.
yeah.
He's managed us as well, for crying out
And
loud.
by the way, it's not like you're going to go, all right. Say for example, Sunderland, right? We lost away in Manchester yesterday. Manchester
Yeah,
who? Which one?
yeah.
Like you wouldn't do that with Manchester, so don't do it with Bristol or what other clubs,
He did it twice as well, which
or
really,
Sheffield either. Like, no,
really,
come on, guys, like, let's get the names right.
really annoyed me. Anyway, not the point. He said he had that little start where he was in a similar position. He said at Bristol City, where kept getting booed off the pitch and had a period of real sort of hurt and pain, but eventually got it right. And honestly, if given time and if given the support of the Norwich fans, which honestly it looks like he's lost, to be honest, from what I'm
Losing
seeing.
to Ipswich definitely doesn't help. Being the first manager in 16 years to do it.
Yeah, that will be the killer. And the way uh, I think the Marcelino Nunez thing doesn't help either because he came on and he immediately just took the piss out of Norwich, the Norwich City midfield. Created the third goal with a lovely pass over the top, but just taking the corner flag after the game, the little banner at the end. I'm sure Norwich fans will not give one hoot about the £10 million that Ipswich are given them for Nunes. They'll care more about what they're seeing and the fact they've lost to Ipswich and the fact that Ipswich have taken their most creative midfielder. And what Norwich lacking at the moment in midfield?
Yeah.
Creativity. They're really desperately lacking it. Manning's not helped himself, as I said, by some pretty baffling decisions. Sayernach keeping him on the pitch for so long, not playing Jurasek, not playing Makama when they've been pretty decent in recent games. But yeah, I can also see the time point because I do think he needs time. I do think he deserves time purely because of what he's done at previous clubs. Because it has taken time at previous clubs for him to get things fully going. But once again, Norwich fans have given this sporting director in particular and this project a year and a bit. So they want to see results now, and it is completely fair for either side, for both sides, that whatever they're asking for is justified and reasonable.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that at this point, and I think probably what hasn't helped in the last couple of years is Ipswich going up to the Premier League. And even though they've come back down, they're obviously now the one that have the financial advantage in parachute payments, which, by the way, they've earned from going up to the Premier League, to make that clear. And this is coming from someone who, even last season, for example, when Sunderland were competing against Leeds, Burnley, Sheffield United, all of whom, and I never felt we'd get in the top two because all of them would have bigger financial resources to have parachute payments. They've earned that. That's fine. No problem with that. So it's the same thing that I think with, but like you say, I agree. But to get back to Ipswich and Norwich, yeah, I think from Norwich, like I said, like I said earlier, Liam Manning being the first Norwich manager or head coach, whichever title you want to use, to lose the East Anglian derby in 16 years has been not good. And I think that I do. Do I think he deserves more time? Yes. I don't think, because the ultimate way I look at it is, if you sack him now, then you're going to have to find. I'm pretty sure a lot of these players over the summer were signed with Liam Manning in mind, and I think if you're signing a lot of, I mean, first of all, really, if that's the case, then that's not particularly great planning, because everyone knows by now head coaches in football can get sacked extremely quickly. That is just the nature of the business. It is a ruthless one. If this structure is watertight, what should be happening is you should then sign players that fit a certain way you want to play, recruit a head coach to implement that system, and if it doesn't work, then you're moving one piece of a jigsaw and just replacing it. What should, in theory, seamlessly replace it with another one who has the same philosophy and I sound like bloody Johnson there, like the same sort of ideology and way of playing. So I think, I think for me, it's going to be massive. It's going to be a massive period coming up. I do think that Liam Manning, I think personally, she shouldn't get sacked as of right now, but it is hard. I can understand from Norwich's fans' point of view why some would want him to go. I think it's obviously the emotion of losing to Ipswich hasn't helped, but I think I'm in kind of in a rock and a hard. So not like it's run long. So we've got another few number of games to talk about, but I think it is fair to say that he could get more time, and I would argue still deserves it. But I think at some point, but it's all good saying he needs it takes time, and it does, but it also needs to click soon enough, because what I would describe as success for Norwich this season is finishing in the top six, personally. And I tipped them for the top six at the start of the season, which at the minute obviously looks a while off, but there's still a long way to go, of course. Put it this way: if by the next international break, in November, I mean, if things really haven't significantly improved by then I think he's gone, personally. So that's another, what, 5-6 games away, pretty much. So really,
November, isn't it? Yeah.
so they need to start seeing some actual good. Even if you're not winning as many games, you need to start seeing a massive upturn in performances, because I think I really rate Liam Manning, but I think the performances I've seen so far from Norwich have been inconsistent, to be very kind, put it that way, and at very worst, turgid. So yeah,
Just finally from me, what was I going to say? Yeah, the timing of this Ipswich defeat doesn't help going into an international break. Uh, Normally, this is the graveyard, or this in November is like sort of managerial graveyard for managers tend to get sacked if they're under pressure. That doesn't help. And it certainly doesn't help because the narrative of the next game for Liam Manning
yeah.
is also very, very interesting. And from my side,
I wonder who it's against.
and I quite frankly want to put a bullet in my head just at the thought of losing that game. So yeah, that is also going to be incredibly, I'm sure, volatile and emotional from our side anyway. So
Can't
yeah,
imagine why.
Manning, he needs to get things going. And honestly, I don't want to see him sort of like this because I think he's a great manager. I think he's more than good enough to turn Norwich City around. I think he's more than good enough to manage maybe an imperfect squad because there are some
Yeah,
gaping holes in that squad. As I said, midfield creativity or just creativity in general. Uh, a lack of options right now because of injuries on the left hand side. Uh, but this is Norwich City in the Championship. They should be expected to be sort of pushing near the top of the division. And yeah, that this position right now, as you said, if things haven't changed in a good way by next November, he might be out of a job. Very very realistically.
yeah. Well, we'll quickly end this game by quickly talking about the Ipswich perspective, because I feel like a lot of it's been talking about Norwich, but obviously from Ipswich's point of view, and again, you'll have watched them play your boys in midweek, so I think for them it's quite it's a good thing that it's 7 points in the last three. I think it might be 10 points from the last 12. I want to say, because I think it's Sheffield United, Portsmouth,
Yeah,
Bristol City, Norwich. Or am I missing a
yeah.
game there?
No.
No.
Blackburn, but that doesn't count.
Well, okay, completed games then it's fine. So yeah,
Games that matter.
yeah, well, yeah, exactly. The ones that weren't called off after 80 minutes, bless poor Blackburn. But no, from their point of view, I think, like I said, I did say that I wanted to see a bit more from Ipswich, and I do think that, look, their performances in general haven't been bad ones. I think they've just been a bit below par for the level I think we kind of expected from them, or certainly I expected from them. So, but from this point, if this is not a result that will get them, and I'm not saying Kieran McKenna has obviously not been under pressure from anyone that I can see, and rightly so. But if this doesn't kickstart their season, then what's going to? So, I wouldn't be surprised now to see if this gives Ipswich I don't want to say confidence or morale boost, because I don't think it's been that low, but more like the oomph to really progress up the league, hopefully. So we'll see.
They finally look like a side that's getting back to what they should be for this division with the quality they have. That second half, I don't think many teams, if any team in the Championship, could have dealt with the quality that Ipswich showed and the style of play and the patterns. When they've got you penned in like that at points, it's so difficult. And then at 65, 70 minutes, you're going, oh, thank God, George Hurst going off, thank God, Sammy Smodic is going off. Nope, Chuba Akpom, Yvonne Azon, Jack Clark, Marcelino Nunez, and you're kind of going, what, how, just why?
Just to read some of their bench out, like you said, Chuba Akpom, Jack Clark, Jacob Greaves, Kelsey McAteer, Marcelino Nunez, Jack Taylor, Ashley Young, and I'm
It's just ridiculous, isn't
exactly like it's. And again, this is why I talk about parachute payments, because in the Championship, if you've got the riches to afford this, then it's an embarrassment of riches, to put it bluntly, Championship level. But I'm not going to let this take away from what is a fantastic Derby Day victory for Ipswich, and I'm sure whether Liam Manning is there or not in the reverse fixture, and I think it's the 11th of April at the time of speaking, obviously, but much closer at the time it might get moved for TV. That it's Norwich Ipswich at Carrow Road, and a certain Marcelino Nunez returning to Carrow Road. So that will be an interesting narrative when that game comes around. But that is a good 6 months away yet. So, but yeah, great win for Ipswich. Concerning times at the moment for Norwich, but we'll wait and see what happens regardless of that. So let's get on to the rest of the other games, because obviously we've only got another 11 games to choose from, and we've been going for half an hour. So let's see if we can do some of these. Let's quickly start. I would think. All right, tell you what, we've only one place we've got to start. And I know, funny how Ant said he would come on, and I wonder because he knows we're going to talk about this result as to why he isn't coming on. A certain result at Hillsborough, Sheffield Wednesday 0, Coventry City 5. Now, first and foremost, let's quickly brush over the protest that happened from Sheffield Wednesday fans. Obviously, it's not what you want to see, but I get from their point of view, they feel like they've got no choice but to do it. They've got to make their voices heard some enough, and I applaud the fact they keep fighting. You want to keep saving their club. You want to have the chance of them getting taken over. We'll not repeat too much on Defon Chansiri because that, again, at this point, is kicking a dead horse. But like we said, hopefully for them it gets sorted soon. Obviously fans were kicked off the pitch as you'd expect. But onto the football itself, and I'm sure Annie, by the way, will agree with pretty much everything I've said there about the hopeful takeover for Sheffield Wednesday. But like I said, we're going overall ground. But keep fighting, Sheff Wed fans. Hopefully it changes for you. Coventry. Now the only unbeaten side left in the Championship, if I am correct, but I believe that I am.
Yeah.
A very slight advantage in goal difference in the fact they've got a plus 20 goal difference at this point. They have scored. Now, I've got this right. My maths is right. They have scored, is it 12 goals in the last 3 games? They beat Birmingham 3-0, I believe, last week.
3-5-3, innit? Or 4? 3-5-4.
No, it's I think they won 3-0 against Birmingham, 4-0 against Millwall, and 5-0 against Sheff Wed.
Up the Cov.
So all I'm going to say is announce a 6-0 win for Coventry because they keep going up by 1 goal each victory. But, right, look, obviously take into account that Sheffield Wednesday wouldn't have provided the sternest of tests at the moment given what's happening, but that isn't Coventry's problem. And I've said before, and I asked this last week, even if Coventry don't finish where they are at the minute, and I'd imagine the most realistic Coventry fans wouldn't expect to finish there, but while you're there, you've got to enjoy it. And I think, just looking at, and I said, I don't think there's I'm starting to think now, Coventry are the best non-parachute payment team in this division for me. Obviously not by miles, because Middlesbrough have started well as well, but I'm looking at Coventry's squad. So let's just quickly go through some of this. So Rushworth, Van Owick, Bobby Thomas, I believe it is, Liam Kitching, Jay De Silva, Matt Grimes, Sakamoto, Thomas Asante, Mason Clark, Hadji Wright. And then on the bench, you got players such like Victor Torp, Ellis Sims, Kesler Hayden. I'm just looking at some of those players and I'm just, wow. Like, if you're a Coventry fan, you must be on, well, I was going to say cloud 9, but really it's cloud plus 20 at the moment.
As an honorary Coventry City fan, and as as they are my local team, up the Cov. I'm joking. Yeah, I mean they're just ridiculous, aren't they? Just can't stop scoring. And I'm trying to cast my mind back to after opening day, where I think I might have said, or I think I kind of held the feeling of, "Ooh, are they going to be a team where they create loads of chances, but they don't find that cutting edge?"
Well, based on this season so far, I think that proves to be wrong.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, they're ridiculous, and I would probably agree based on the evidence so far. They probably do look the best. Uh, yeah, best placed team, non-parachute team to compete with said parachute teams.
Yeah.
But they're just stupidly good.
Do you want to know how many goals they've scored?
Hang on, I can guess.
Go on then. You might have
20,
seen this, to be fair, so I wouldn't be surprised if you get it right.
22 or 23?
27.
27. Oh my
Yep.
god.
And if anyone doesn't believe me, go on Google, check the championship table, it'll tell you. 27 goals, 7 goals conceded. And the thing I've been impressed about with Coventry so far is the fact that, and I'm very surprised that Ant's not put any of these six-fingered comments in the chat or any derogatory comments towards Coventry City in the chat so far. But there's time, the night's still young. With But with Coventry, yeah, I mean, look, when I've watched Coventry, because I've still, even though obviously we Sunderland got promoted, I still like to watch quite a bit of the Championship, and I've been really impressed from what I've seen with Coventry this season. And the thing that's impressed me the most, really, it's not just the fact that they're able to score past teams at will, and they've got such a fluency going forward. They're being good defensively as well. I don't see many teams getting that many good chances against them. And another game I'm thinking of in particular is Leicester away. Now, I know Leicester aren't as good as what they were last time in the Championship, but again, they're still good enough to beat most teams at home. And Coventry went there and more than matched them, I think. And I think that's a right balance that you can. That's the perfect balance you want of being able to score freely, but when you're not doing it, you're able to do the ugly side of it as well. Now, obviously, this game was not tight by any stretch of the imagination, but when you're having forwards that are scoring at will, and you can tell the confidence is just flowing through Coventry's players at the moment, it makes you think what could happen this season. Because let's be honest, Sheffield United, if this season continues the way it has been so far, will be nowhere near the promotion race. If this continues the way it is, Southampton obviously have stuttered a bit. They've kind of stop-started for me. They haven't started to the level I thought they would. Ipswich, I think, could rise to the level, and I wouldn't. Obviously, Leicester have been solid if unspectacular, but they've definitely been very good at being functional, and that's not a bad thing either. So it makes you wonder. Like I've said before that I think Coventry, the big thing for them was starting well, and boy oh boy, they have started well.
Yeah, I don't know what else we can say about Cov apart from they look well positioned. They've had a very good start, and you can probably almost say they look already a shoo-in for the playoffs.
It
Definitely.
would take something really calamitous for them to not do it, I think.
Yeah.
Because what's the average points you probably need for the playoffs? Like, say if you wanted to get 6th, 75, something like that.
No, less than that, like 71, 70, 71.
Let's say 70 then, right?
Yeah.
They would only need now 51 points. Let me get this right. 51 points from 37 games, I want to say. I think it's 37 games. No, hang on. No, that's not right. 30. No, it is 37. Sorry, I'm talking nonsense. So they would need to average. What are you talking?
1.38 points per game.
And this is the thing. If you want to get at least in the playoffs, the more points you get early on, if you have a bad run, which will come at some point, we know that, because every team goes through one, it's not catastrophic for you. And you can easily get yourself right into that conversation, into that mix. But yeah, like we're running out of things to say about Coventry, and it's funny how Ant's conveniently not in the chat right now. How weird's that? But yeah, so. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things that we're running out of saying. And same with Chef Ware, to be fair. We're kind of running out of things to say about both clubs, so we're kind of just repeating ourselves at this point. But watch this space with Coventry. We'll wait and see how that pans out. But, you know.
I wonder what their run looks like after the international break.
Have a quick look. Coventry wants... Right. So the next game is Blackburn at the... What's this? Annie, will Manning... Actually, I'll quickly have you answer this while I quickly look, if you don't mind. Annie, will Manning still be in charge by the time Bristol City visit Carrow Road after the international break, do you think?
I am in two minds, same as Michael. I, on one hand, can see a bit of a reaction from Napa, and going, right, this isn't working, the fans aren't on side, and he pulls the plug. On the other hand, I can see a bit of a statement of defiance by Napa, and he goes, right, let's double, let's bat down the hatches and double down and just keep going and keep trusting the project. I can see that happening as well. I think he lasts. I think he might last until this next block of fixtures after the international break. And yeah, I'm probably in agreement with Michael again of the next international break in November is probably going to be decision time, or where's the evidence as this is going to go anywhere. And if Norwich are moving and upwardly mobile by then yeah, we'll start to see the best of Lane Manning.
Well, time will tell one way or another, of course. Right. So I'll go up to the next international break for Coventry. So their next, I want to say it's 6 games. I think, yeah, 6 games. Right. So the fixtures aren't too bad actually. Blackburn at home next at the CBS. Trip to Fratton Park afterwards, followed by a home game against Watford. Trip to the racecourse to face Wrexham, which I believe is on the night of Halloween, actually. So we'll make Ant watch Wrexham Coventry for Halloween to scare the living daylights out of him, poor bloke. Then we have Coventry against Sheffield United on the 4th of November. And then on the 8th of November, the Mark Robbins derby at the Bet365 Stadium. So,
yeah, that is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's going to be the narrative, isn't it? So, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at those games and I'm thinking, obviously, I'm not expecting them to win all 6 of them, of course. But I think if you get 3/4 wins, or even if it's 3 wins and a couple of draws, 4 wins and a draw, so which I think they're capable of doing.
If they get 11 points from those games, which I think is reasonable,
11, 12 points, I think is really good for them.
That's another 2 points per game.
Well, look at it this way: if they get to 30 points by the next international break, they're laughing.
Good grief! Honestly, they'd be very happy with that. Honestly,
No, absolutely. So yeah, it's quite good. Could Coventry or Middlesbrough be this season's Sunderland? Put it that way. You never know. It could be.
I think Coventry are more likely to.
Probably.
And I'd honestly say they can do one better. One of them can do one better than Sunderland, and actually really, for the full season, sustain a automatic promotion push. Purely because with Sunderland last season, Leeds, Burnley, who else was it?
Sheffield United were quite consistent, weren't they? To
Yeah,
be fair.
and they started the season quite well, didn't they? All of them, really.
Whereas this season, it's only really Leicester that's kind of started functional enough. I mean, Ipswich, I think, will climb up and be in that conversation. But what I mean is, like, put it this way: even if it was Leicester, Ipswich, top 2, for example, I wouldn't bet against Coventry being third, but really chasing down their throats for it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but yeah. So no, but I think for Coventry fans, obviously, the last couple of seasons, we know the story's been about how poorly they've started and had to sort of make ground up later for the run for the playoffs. But yeah, I don't think they can really. I'd imagine Coventry fans rightly will be loving life right now. So we'll wait and see. All right, let's go with the other Sheffield club. The lunchtime kickoffs. And, yeah, where to start? Well, let Annie take this one. Hull 1, Sheffield United 0. So we wondered this time last week, after Sheffield United went away at Oxford and won, which, by the way, is a difficult place to go, to be fair, just to make that clear. Like, Coventry didn't win there for as good as their high flying they're doing. Leicester didn't win there. Okay, they had 10 men, but they still didn't win there. Oxford at that point were coming off the back of 3 points in 5. 5 points in 3. That makes no sense. 5 points in 3 before them, and Sheffield United won. So I thought, is this going to be a turning point or at least a confidence booster? Based on the 2 games since,
no, they've been. To be fair, against Southampton, you're coming up against a team who are.
Southampton are good, to be fair. Yeah,
probably one of the few squads in the division who are better than Sheffield United. So kind of sort of excusable, and they were a little bit unlucky in certain decisions, and it was a tight game, and they lost a bit of a coin flip game. Can happen.
To be fair, but bear in mind the winning goal was a screamer as well.
Yeah,
from the Loch Ness Drogba, just to point out. But
can happen. Move on. Fine, no problems.
This game, however.
Oh God, they were absolutely horrendous. They were hapless. They were absolutely hapless. And just about sums up when they have a little period of pressure, about 5 minutes at the end, leads to a penalty. It's a bit of a stupid challenge by Semi Ajayi. Doesn't need to do that. Who was it? I think. Actually, can't. It might have been Danny Ings who was on the receiving end of the challenge.
Yes, it was Danny Ings. Yeah. And obviously Harrison Burrows took the penalty.
Yeah. Danny Ings was going nowhere. Stupid challenge by Ajayi. You kind of get gifted a penalty as a reward for a little bit of good pressure at the end and a little bit of territory. the penalty just about sums up where Sheffield United are at the moment. And I just kind of, as soon as Pandor saves the penalty, you go, this
This
is
is
just this is just peak. This is just peak Sheffield United this season. This is just what they sort of are at the moment.
yeah. I mean, like everyone knows, I said last season I think Sheffield United were often on the receiving end, sorry, on the right end of very tight games where I felt like they were quite lucky to win. On this occasion, on this season, it seems to have flipped the other way around. That even when games are tight, the calls are going against Sheffield United. And look, we've got to make this clear. It's a massive win for Hull. It is a very important one for them. I believe, obviously, it's good to lift Hull a few places clear of the relegation zone. They're actually 3 points off the playoffs, but again, the league's that tight at this point. It's congested. But nevertheless, let's not take it away from Hull. And there were times, to be fair, even though Sheffield United weren't great, Hull did have to have a lot of time off the ball and had to have to do a lot of time defending. Now you can say now to be fair, Sheffield United. I'm trying to remember that many clear. There was one big goal mouth scramble that I thought Sheffield United were bound to
Yeah,
equalise
yeah,
from
yeah.
in the second half. From Sheffield United's point, but yeah, but for Hull, it's a massive 3 points. It's a massive one, and I think whether Sheffield United started poorly or not, this is still a parachute payment team, albeit a year 2-1, and they haven't started very well. But yeah, I've just seen a private chat from Carl. I'll quickly bring that up once we finish talking about this game. But yeah, this game, I mean, look, everything that's going, I think the cliche is everything that's going wrong, could go wrong for Sheffield United is absolutely catastrophically going wrong for them. Obviously, the penalty, Harrison Burrows, and I believe, now, I could be wrong here, but I watched the Sheffield United Way YouTube channel. Ollie, who was speaking, good lad, by the way. He's a really good, really sound guy. But I believe he was saying, I could be wrong here, Harrison Burrows is the victim, one of the many players who performed really well for Sheffield United last season, has been apparently well off it this campaign,
Yeah.
and a lot of it is down to confidence. Now, the penalty is not great. And I think that kind of sums it all up, because even if Sheffield United had scored the penalty, you come away from it, you go, right, okay, you get a point, you're behind until the last few minutes, you get something that could have really kick-started it. And put it this way, and I want to know your thoughts on this. I've had the opinion, like I said, I'm trying to be objective about Chris Wilder as much as I can be, but like, look at it this way. Chris Wilder, I think, should be more than good enough to get Sheffield United away from trouble. But the longer this goes on, is this season's Luton? Is it this season's? Oh, well, they're going to be too good to go down. Oh, the squad's too good to go down. Oh, and then the more they keep losing, the more confidence keeps taking a hit. At what point do we start to really? And by the way, this is not good enough for the squad Sheffield United's got. By the way, it should be doing a lot better than it is. Even though I do think what they're massively missing is that Vinny Souza-shaped hole in the midfield that's often allowed them, when they're under the cosh, to take control of games and be able to, at the very least, have in games. This season they don't have Vinny Souza, obviously.
Yeah.
But at what point are we reaching the point where we're genuinely, seriously thinking staying up is the aim for Sheffield United this season, as depressing as that sounds for them?
I don't think we've got to that point yet. I think that might be a conversation if, again, things don't improve by pretty much the next international break, which feels like a significant checkpoint for a lot of different football clubs. I do feel like that squad is good.
It's not as good as last season, by the way, just to make that clear.
Well, yeah, it's not. It's missing a lot of different things. Notably that Vinny Souza sort of hustle and bustle, sort of breaking things up in midfield, sort of
Absolutely.
winning the ball back, control, all of that things that Sheffield United were pretty good at last season. They're missing that. And I think Chris Wilder I think in his first interview back for the third time, he kind of said, we're missing Vinny Souza, or, we're missing a Vinny Souza type of player in midfield. That's not helped. That's a significant hole in the squad. So, yeah, the aim for Sheffield United, as we say right now, is probably still try and make it into the playoffs if you can.
It should be.
But
the longer it goes on, though, you think,
Yeah. I do feel like the international breaks come obviously at a good time for them. It probably is a time where you're probably gonna see some improvement afterwards because you'd expect work on the training ground, etc., and things to get better. So I wouldn't still be sort of overly surprised if we see a Blades sort of good run after the international break, and we see them sort of surge up the table quite quickly. But still, 3 points, 8 defeats in 9 games is
It's shocking, isn't it?
it's inexcusable for a year two parachute team. Absolutely inexcusable. I don't think even Luton went on that bad of a run, even last season. It's actually terrible. And it needs to move fast. Because ultimately, this
And
isn't
we mean
really,
fast up the table, by the way, not fast towards League One.
well, yeah,
Obviously, yeah.
obviously, but they need some improvement after the international break for sure. Because otherwise, yeah, we could definitely be having conversations. Because it doesn't matter how good the squad is, if there's no confidence and if other teams can smell blood when they play you, then you're not gonna be
Could
able
be,
to
yeah.
match with them just purely because of that confidence factor. So yeah, but Chris Wilder's a very good manager. He's no sort of famed for that. He should get things moving quickly, one way or another.
Well, I'll look at their fixtures until the next international break. So we've got Watford at home after that, and Watford, bear in mind, are inconsistent to say the least, but obviously doing quite a bit better than Sheffield United at the moment. Trips to Blackburn and Preston follow that. A home game against Derby. That one feels like one that if you don't win that, it's like panic stations. And I mean that with the greatest respect to Derby, of course, but like that is a game for Sheffield United. You need to be getting a win really if you can. Coventry away after that, as I mentioned, when the Coventry's fixtures, that's obviously like we'll
Yeah,
see what happens with Coventry's confidence at that point. Then QPR at home after that. But here's the big one, and I'm just going to go slightly after the international break. The first game after the next international break is the Steel City Derby away at Sheffield Wednesday, and I wonder, is that going to be the battle of the two bottom clubs the way this is going at the moment? So yeah, one way or another, improvements needed for Sheffield United. But yeah, I think Chris Wilder will still have enough to get them clear of trouble. But again, as I said earlier with Norwich and Liam Manning, it's one thing me saying it, they need to do it. I'll just read a couple of Chris Wilder quotes actually. So it's BBC Radio Sheffield. So obviously after the loss, he said, "It's incredibly disappointing. We are beating ourselves at the moment. We have to take something out of this," which I think is fair enough. We allowed them to get their noses in front, and although we got into good positions, we were not able to find that final bit. That's the game changer. It was loose and rushed, and there was no sign of the obvious ability. These players have got to change the course of the game. We got into some great positions. They sat in and tried to hit us on the counter, but we were never in danger. We just couldn't find that final bit. I will say in defence of Sheffield United, it's not like now they're getting taken up the arse, basically, in games like how Bristol City were putting 4 past them and Ipswich put 5 past them with ease. That isn't happening anymore, which is obviously a good thing for them. They're at least starting to keep things tighter. But I think that more than ever, I think they need to get the ability to just, and this is going to be weird, they need to get the ability to do what they did last season, which is to grind results out when backs are against the wall. And I think it kind of starts with, even if say you went on a 2-3 game unbeaten run, say if it was 1 win and a couple of draws, slowly that starts to build your confidence, and mentally it toughens you up a bit, I think. So, but let's not take it away from Hull how big that win was for them. And obviously, given that they in the second half, I thought they were under a fair bit of pressure, but they did deal with it mostly really, really well. And I think it was just crucial for them to win, obviously going into a 2-week break. So time will tell on there how things improve how things look for both clubs in the next few weeks or so. And obviously, as you saw on the bottom of the screen earlier, as Carl put on the screen, so thanks very much for that, mate, when he said, breaking news looks like Rangers set to sack Russell Martin, which can't say is a surprise. In fact, the only surprise really is that it's come a few weeks later
what a
than
surprise!
the only surprise really is that it's come a few weeks later than it probably should have done, if we're being totally honest. So
Hey, we might see him back in the championship. Who knows? Who knows?
Gerald Struber
Someone.
leaves Bristol City and Russell Martin takes over. And announce Annie going, "Thank God I'm in the Midlands."
I'm going to ignore that comment, Michael, and just going to
I
pretend that
wonder
I
why.
never said that ever again.
Yeah,
Don't
no,
say
okay,
it
we'll
ever.
see. Yeah, we'll see that. We'll see. All right, let's talk about the other lunchtime kickoff. So at Ewood Park, it finished Blackburn 1, Stoke City 1. Obviously, Stoke took the lead very, very early in the second half, and I know I'm going to get this name wrong. Million Manhoof, I think is how you say it.
Yeah, bang
Manhoof.
on.
Well, Manhoof, okay, fair enough. That's the first time. I'm proud of myself. Obviously, scored early into the second half and assisted again by Sorba Thomas. What a season he's having for Stoke, by the way.
Yeah.
And then obviously we had, let's see if I can get this right, Augustus Cogbo what a name that is. Todd Cantwell assisting. Obviously, it was a bit of a scramble in the box for Blackburn's equaliser, but I would say probably Blackburn probably feel the slightly happier of the two, given the late nature of the goal. But I think it's a draw that sort of keeps Stoke ticking along reasonably nicely, keeps them into fifth, and it's sort of just and obviously after what happened with and obviously what's happened recently with Blackburn, obviously with the fixture postponement against Ipswich and everything, I think it was important for Blackburn to get something out of this.
I'd agree with that. Yes, they needed a point. They weren't particularly sort of
Fluid?
convincing, fluid, yeah, all of that. But with the sort of recent run they've had, you wouldn't sort of fully expect them to be, fluid, all of that good stuff. I will say Stoke, that is still it's a bit of a poor run, isn't it? Considering if you match that with the start they had, the blistering fast start they had, they've had a little bit of a poor run recently. They lost at QPR. They obviously drawn this. They drew at home to Norwich, which kind of look like all right fixtures with how those teams are going on at the moment. So they'll be a little bit disappointed. Obviously, QPR away is it's not a terrible result. QPR going very
Had
well.
Middlesbrough away, to be fair to them as well in this run.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point, and a good clean sheet as well. So yeah, it's maybe it's been a bit of a mixed run, but they'll be disappointed.
Yes.
They'll be disappointing considering they took the lead in this one, and QPR away. I'm casting my mind back to they missed an absolutely golden chance at 0-0, didn't they? Manhoff literally on the goal line. So maybe scoring goals at the right time has been a bit of an issue for Stoke. Because they create loads of chances, you'd expect Mark Robins' teams to do. They have lots of territory, lots of control. It's just about scoring at the right time, and good teams in the Championship will score at the right time. It's just whether or not Stoke can do that, because I don't think they're a million miles away actually from. That's a good one for you. Million man, half million man. Yeah, no,
Like
I don't think they're a million miles off being a good team. Actually, Stoke. I've been very impressed with how things have been moving there, and honestly, it's not really that surprising considering it's Mark Robins and he is a very good manager. So yeah, a little bit disappointing from a Stoke perspective, considering they've not sort of nailed this run recently with a couple of soft fixtures in there, but that's still a point on the road which is cannot be sniffed upon in the Championship for sure.
Nope, definitely not. And I think, and obviously Blackburn, well, effectively we're 10 minutes away from beating Ipswich, but obviously until the football gods did, and the rain decided to intervene and put a stop to that. So if you're looking at it, I think from Stoke, I think they're probably in a way what you've said about them maybe not nailing this run is actually probably a compliment towards them in the fact that they have started as well as they have. And I think that in previous seasons, say when they're in relegation battles, this sort of run would be looked at quite well for Stoke, I think, and gone, oh well, they're not losing many games, they'll stay up. When really for Stoke, and as I've mentioned before, they haven't finished in the top half of the Championship, if memory serves me right, since they got relegated in 2018 in the Premier League, which is really, really poor for a club like Stoke. So I think with Mark Robins and Stoke, it seems to be a good fit. It seems to be a really good fit, a good solid fit, and it's good that Mark Robins, for once, starts the season quite well, which obviously has been not the case. So maybe poor starts were just a him and Coventry thing that happened to coincide when they were both there together. But no, I would say a point's not a bad result in the end for either team, really. I think it just keeps teams going along, both teams going along reasonably nicely. Let's quickly go back to Friday night. Let's look at the, are we calling it the Hollywood Derby? Or whatever you want to call it. Fine, the promoted League One clubs derby. There you go. Let's call it that instead.
It's just another game.
It's just Wrexham v Birmingham, basically, isn't it? I would say it's a good point for Birmingham, personally. Going away to the race call. I know Wrexham, I believe, haven't won at home yet. But you've got to remember, I think Wrexham obviously will still have the momentum from getting promoted. I know at home not the case, but the point is, if you're Birmingham, if it was at St Andrews, I could get Birmingham might be disappointed with it. But I think first half, they obviously went 1-0 down. George Dobson from a set piece put Wrexham ahead. Birmingham had what can only be described as a screw-up at the back minutes not long after that, when Wrexham should have punished them and gone 2-0 up, which was a golden chance for Wrexham to go 2-0 up, which wasn't taken. Then obviously the second half begins, and within 30 seconds of the second half starting, Jay Stansfield, who I still actually quite like as a player, and I think he gets quite a bit of unfair stick if I'm honest, puts in a fantastic ball to Patrick Roberts. And to be fair to Patrick Roberts, as someone who's watched him for a few years at Sunderland, that was actually a really good finish from Patrick Roberts, and it's good to see that Patrick Roberts has found somewhere where he's going to play, because that was not going to happen for him in the Premier League with us, unfortunately. But no, I think Birmingham can be reasonably content with that. I think it's not a bad, like I say, it isn't a bad point for them in the grand scheme of things. I think personally, the only disappointment with Birmingham really is the fact that the last couple of games, they've drawn games. I mean, I'm looking at the draw against Sheffield Wednesday at home is probably the one that springs to mind, where it's one where they really need to be winning that game if they're wanting to really kick on. And actually, to be fair, I mean, if you want to look at it this way, you could say Birmingham are on a bit of a not great run. They've only won one of their last five. Um, losing 1-0 away at Stoke. In fact, no, I think you could say one of the last six, because they lost to Leicester before the international break, didn't they? So, but yeah, look, they're still probably going to adapt to the Championship, and the fact that in League One they were going to comfortably have the best team in the league. And I think this season teams are going to come onto them a bit more. And actually, they didn't even beat Wrexham at the racecourse last season either. So, yeah, I don't know if you've got anything to add. I think it's a better point. I think it's an okay point for both, but it's probably slightly better for Birmingham than I think it will be for Wrexham.
Yeah. Bang on. I can't agree more. I have nothing more to say.
I like the guy, prefer not to speak. Just to call Jose Mourinho just to be random as anything. Well, yeah, okay, let's move on to a few of the other games. We'll try and see if we can speed through these. I'll save Leicester till second last in case Ant does decide to come on, but knowing him, he probably won't. But we shall see what happens. And Carl's just shaking his head in the background because he knows we know Ant too well at this point. I hope Connor Cody's feeling the same, the prick. Yeah, let's just quote that clip. And for those who want to know, Connor Cody was actually on Sky Sports on punditry today for the Premier League, so I hope Ant was watching that and cursing the TV in all its glory. But yeah, let's move on. Let's talk about the another one of the parachute payment teams, Southampton, drawing 1-1 away at Derby County. Which, go on, what do you make of this one?
I think the word to describe this for Southampton is meh.
Yeah,
just meh. It's like they weren't great against Sheffield United, but coin flip game they won with Ross Stewart, the quality he has, and then
he gets injured. Shock horror.
Yeah, gets injured pretty early on in the game and unable to capitalise after taking the lead against Derby as well. So just disappointing, I'd say, from Saints. They still haven't fully got going. I thought maybe that despite, not a good performance against Sheffield United, that it would be a catalyst. Now we'd see a start of hopefully for them, a winning run. I haven't seen that. Maybe the international breaks come at a good time. Will Still is under pressure.
Don't get Reese on this.
Will Still is under pressure, and Will. God, I can't.
Will still be there by the time in a few weeks' time, or will still be looking at the job centre? Yeah, Reese does it a lot better than me.
I think for Saints, they need to start moving soon. I think that's probably the biggest thing for them, because we've seen Ipswich starting to move now. It's taken a bit of time for them, but they look like they're sort of moving. It feels like Azaz and Fellows, the two big money signings for Saints, or the two sort of most high profile ones, haven't really sort of fitted in yet, and they were both on the bench for this one. You'd like to see more from Southampton for sure, and I think that will be the big one. That's the biggest bit I think for Saints. That they've got to start moving in the right direction performance wise. So, pardon me, that is very cliche, but
but you're not wrong.
They're a year one parachute team. They've got to be sort of in and around the top six. No, they've got to be in the top six.
As a minimum, I'd say, personally.
As the bare minimum, and expectation is top four. So, yeah, Will Steele, he still has some time. Yeah, I think he'll still get some time, but time is not infinite. He's got to get moving quickly.
And the thing that for me that I've just found out, actually, Southampton since the opening day of the season have only won once. So that would have been one win in their last 8 championship games. Now, in fairness to them, when they've gone away to Ipswich on the second weekend, I think that's a good point. I think going from 1-0 down as well, I believe it was very early on as well. So that's a solid point for Saints, I would say. I think losing at home to Stoke in the context that Stoke were down to 10 men when they were 1-0 down and Stoke went 2-0 up, I think that's quite poor. Watford away, 2-2 draws, not disastrous, not great either. Portsmouth and home, I would argue Pompey looked the better team for large parts of that game. Hull away, okay, Hull have beaten two of the parachute sides at home, haven't they? But yeah, I mean, Hull away, as if you Southampton, you expect a bit more from that. 1-1 against Borough's not, again, I think it's okay. Obviously, Borough will be significantly happier with that point than I think Southampton will. And obviously, winning away at Sheffield United was good, but then they kind of followed up again with another draw. So I get the impression Southampton are quite hard to beat at the minute. They don't lose many, but they don't win many either. And I think it's, again, from Southampton's point of view, like you said, I can't add much more. I would like to see them improve a bit more because I think, and again, I'm trying to look at it that Will Still is coming with a lot of hype about him, and again, I'm personally yet to see it. I'm yet to see how he's gonna but again, the season's still young. Obviously, and I suppose to play devil's advocate, and given how much Andy hates this guy, he might want to cover his ears for the next 30 seconds. But for me, Russell Martin obviously didn't start that well at Southampton, did he? And I know obviously the difference is Russell Martin probably had a better squad to work with then, slightly than what Will Still's had now. Even though I still think Southampton's squad is a really good one at championship level. And quickly, by the way, while I'm on it, I feel for Ross Stewart again, because obviously again he's got injured, and it looks like he's going to be, I don't know how long he's going to be out for, but knowing his injury history, unfortunately, it might be a while. I don't know, unless Annie knows something I don't about what about the injury in question. But yeah, look, for Southampton, we need to see them sort of start to really show their quality a bit more. Personally, but let's not detract away from how good a point this is for Derby. I think either, obviously coming back from 1-0 down, they went 1-0 down the first 10 minutes. Remember, so I think to come back and get something, I think is and obviously Patrick Agimangs, I think is how I'm saying it. I've probably butchered that name.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, okay. Just call him Patrick Starfish instead. Obviously, he scored. Obviously, his goal and it says here that obviously his first goal for Derby earned a point. Obviously, his Derby still haven't won a home game yet this season. Blame BBC Match Report if that's wrong. But yeah, but I would say Derby should be relatively satisfied with it. A draw at home to a year one parachute team when obviously, and from the stats, they look like they kind of match Southampton really. So it looks like a draw was a fair result from what I'm seeing here. But again, if there happens to be any Derby or Saints fans watching this, then let me know because obviously they'll have been at the game and watched it, and obviously the eye test can be a bit different. So yeah, I'd say a disappointment for Southampton, but again, solid enough point for Derby to keep them ticking over. And obviously for Derby, they'll probably want to do a little bit better, get a bit better themselves. But again, they'll be content with a point against the Saints. Let's talk about the league leaders, Middlesbrough. Well, were former league leaders, now second place, who have now lost their unbeaten record. A 1-0 defeat away at Portsmouth, thanks to a first half goal from Yang Min Hyok. Why has everyone got unpronounceable names? But either way, Pompey Way is not an easy place to go, and I think Middlesbrough can take credit for the fact that they've lasted this long without losing a game. And I don't mean that in a condescending way. I think that with Borough, obviously the conversation going at the start of the season was criticism of Rob Edwards, or question marks, I should say, around Rob Edwards. Obviously Borough ended last season poorly, but Pompey at home are no slouches, and I think it's fantastic win for Pompey. Don't get me wrong, but for Middlesbrough, I think this season they've shown me enough that I think they'll bounce back from it. But for Pompey, great win for them nevertheless.
Yep. Pompey win at home for only the second time this season, maybe.
Beat Preston, I think.
Preston, yeah, that's the only one. So yeah, a good win for Pompey. They need to get their home form sort of back on track. And I think for Pompey, when at the start of the season, I think we expected progression from them, is because we thought, okay, if they can keep that same home form from last season and pick up some more points away from home, then we can start to see some, them properly establishing themselves as a championship club. And that is a good win for Pompey. And from the stats, it looked like they largely limited Middlesbrough to not that much. So a good performance. And I agree with you on Borough. They'll put that one, they'll brush that one aside and just move on. And we'll look forward to Ipswich at home.
I was going to say Friday night football, the Riverside Ipswich at home.
That's going to be tasty. And then Wednesday away, which okay, not bad. And then Wrexham at home, Watford away, Leicester away, Birmingham at home. Okay, some mixed fixtures in there for Borough. So I think an important period for Borough coming up after the international break.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any much more to add on that. So yeah, but well done to Pompey. Really, really good win, causing Middlesbrough's first defeat this season. Alex Neil has got, obviously, Millwall got a surprisingly comfortable win against West Brom. And they won 3-0 at the Den. So we have now let's see if I'm going to get these names right. So we have and my phone picks then to ping loads of messages. So let's see if we can mute that. Right. So we have let's see if we get this right. Jake Cooper obviously scored within the first half to put Millwall 1-0 up. Then we had, where's the next one? This is why I should have looked this up beforehand. As I'm going to say, hang on, where's Aziz? Where's that? Where's the first name?
Femi
Aziz. Oh, I can't believe. Yeah, okay. Yeah, oh yeah, Femi Aziz. Yeah, okay. Do we talk about the goal?
Is this the one where he absolutely blasts it into from range? Yeah, I saw it. I actually seen all the goals back, but I saw that one pop on my feed. Yeah, what a goal! Might rival Philogene, pretty close to Philogene actually. And yeah, it's I don't know. It's just a little bit more satisfying when it's the left foot as well, isn't it? So, yeah, good. What a goal from Femi Aziz, and we know he's got that quality in him. He showed it in sort of starts in championship level with Reading. He's a good player. He's got pace. He's got a little bit of that quality. He needs to deliver sort of more consistently for Millwall. So yeah, good win, great win actually for Millwall, and back-to-back home wins, which was definitely necessary considering they didn't win at home or didn't get any points at home prior to that. So yeah, good win for Millwall, and they've got it's not back-to-back home wins at all, is it? They lost at home to Coventry, did they? So that's a lie.
Well, it's 2 home wins in 3 then, because I'm sure they beat Watford the home
game.
Yeah.
2 and 3. Sorry, I misspoke. My bad.
And I think losing to Coventry is not a disgrace, by the way.
4-0.
Maybe not the scoreline, but the result.
4-0 isn't great. But no, good win for Millwall to bounce back from what was a pretty not great result at home. West Brom. I don't know. Was it just a fast start and now it's a little bit of a evening out and a little bit of a? Are they going to be sort of mid-table-ish? I don't know. We all get a little bit too excited over Ryan Mason potentially. So no. They're still not a bad side. They've still got some good players in them. They've still got some good players there. But yeah, that is not a good result for West Brom, is it?
No, and the scoreline doesn't help things either. I wonder maybe whether because I do like a lot of players in West Brom. I really like the defensive partnership of Nat Phillips and Chris Metham for them. Yeah. But I think for them, I wonder when we talk about transitional seasons, whether this might be it to some degree for West Brom, or certainly the early part of the season might be. I have no idea. So obviously, it's the inconsistency, isn't it? Because I remember against Leicester 9 days ago, they were minutes away from picking up a really good 3 points against Leicester, which obviously didn't happen. They conceded late on. And obviously, they followed up with a 1-0 win away at Norwich. Okay, Norwich have got their home problems, but you've still got to go and win. You've still got to go and do the job away from home. And obviously, Ryan Mason described this as the worst performance of the season. So, yeah, if that's the case, then. And again, the Den, I mean, I know Coventry went there and smashed Millwall, but like, the Den's not an easy place to go. And I know Millwall haven't started as well as the home as you'd expect, but they're still not a bad side. And they've got a very good manager in Alex Neil who knows how to get a lot out of players at championship level. So maybe a bit of soul searching possibly after the national break for West Brom. But again, it's a mixed sort of run of form recently, I'd say. But yeah, well, time will tell what the after the national break holds for the Baggies. Let's talk about Preston 2, Charlton Athletic 0. So I believe Charlton were actually on a pretty good run going into this game. And Paul Heckenbottom, after seeing the highlights, obviously felt that Preston dominated this game. And from what I did see, Charlton didn't really have that many massive chances that I can remember or recall. But again, I urge anyone to tell me if I'm talking nonsense there. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the shots here. I mean, yeah, Charlton didn't have a shot on target. Coventry didn't have a single shot on target. Sorry, not Coventry. Why am I talking nonsense? It's probably good because they put, Rangers confirms it is party company with head coach Russell Martin. And he's like, imagine my surprise. But yeah, so Charlton didn't have a shot on target. But nevertheless, Preston have got to beat what's in front of them. And I remember and I said this before, I remember putting Preston in my bottom three at the start of the season. And I think Paul Heckenbottom said, hold my beer, and probably took offence to that because Preston are ticking along nicely, aren't they?
What a terrible call from the both of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry,
Yeah.
Paul Heckenbottom right now.
No, they look good. They look solid. Deepdale in particular, they look really solid. They look hard to beat.
Beat two year one parachute teams as well there.
We should have beaten them at Deepdale, but won't go over old ground.
Hey, Leicester and Ipswich, and now Charlton lost there. So.
Yeah, it's a great win for Preston, and dominating Charlton at home. Not easy. Containing them is not easy either. So that's a great win for North End. And if you'd offered Preston fans, what was it, fourth going into the October international break, I think they would have absolutely taken that and probably snapped your hands off as well. And if you do expect them to still be in a relegation battle, 16 points from 9 games, well, yeah, that's a cracking start. Great sort of head start over some of the other teams down there in the bottom three. So great win for Preston, but let's be honest, they don't look like a team that's going to be anywhere near the bottom three.
No, not unless something really catastrophic happens, which you never know. If there's one division that can produce that, it is the Championship, because we know how mental this league is. But yes, we shall see what happens with it. But yeah, and obviously for Charlton, they've been on a pretty good run of form before this. I think they come into this off the back of back-to-back wins, I believe, I want to say. I think it was... actually, hang on. How did they get on in midweek? Oh, no, they drew at Derby, didn't they? So
Yeah.
they've come off the back, I think it was a win at Sheffield United. They beat Blackburn comprehensively and drew away at Derby. So, yeah, you know what, all in all, Charlton have still not disgraced themselves either on their return to the second tier. So I think, and Charlton again, 12th on 12 points after 9 games. I think Charlton fans would have taken that, if I'm totally honest, after, what was it, within the first 10 games or so. So no disgrace from Charlton to lose to a Preston team that is flying at the moment. At Vicarage Road, we had 3 goals in the first half. Obviously, 1 at the very start of the half and 2 near the very end of it. So we had, now I'm going to, Andy's going to probably rescue my horrendous pronunciations again here, but let's see. So we had Max Elenes, I'm going to say that. It's like, obviously, it was an interesting own goal, let's put it that way, after 3 minutes. Obviously, Gary Rowett side ahead. Then I believe, it was a brace from Jeremy Ngakia, I'm going to call it that. So if I remember correctly, I think the first one went in off the post from a corner, which was certainly interesting in itself. And obviously massive for Watford, again, to turn it around from being 1-0 down, because that is not easy to do in the Championship, well, in any league, but especially a league as open as this one. Turn it around and come back to me leading 2-1 at half-time. Obviously, Watford had more chances to extend their lead across the game. Obviously, Roko Vata and substitute Luca Kermangard. I'm going to have got that wrong again, but either way, right. Yeah. But either way, no, it's a massive for Watford. It's a good one to sort of it's a good one to sort of keep Pezzolano in the job a few weeks longer, probably. Knowing Watford, I know there's going to be a running joke constantly about Watford, but actually 3 points off the playoffs. So he's not doing too bad, in my opinion. And obviously for Oxford, the big thing that continues to be the case with them is the firepower up front. But then I look at it and I think, well, not long ago, they scored 7 goals across Coventry, Leicester, and, sorry, Andy, Bristol City. Obviously, there you go. Yeah, 3 goals across those 7 games. There we go. I'm just going to end it right now so Andy can put his headphones back on. There we go. So that did not exist. But yeah, so it's obviously going to be a tough campaign for Oxford, but I still believe while Gary Rowett's there, he is their best shot. And we'll see how that pans out with them if they can. Obviously, he stays there the whole season. But yeah, for Watford, crucial win. And obviously a good win for them going into a 2-week break, as mentioned before. Right, let's get on to the penultimate game before we subject Annie to torture talking about Bristol City 1, QPR 2. Let's talk about Swansea 1, Leicester 3 in a game of Leicester players scoring screamers, basically, which was
surprise.
Yeah, Leicester's players having the quality to do this as a year 1 parachute team. There you go. And I wish Ant had come on, but shock gasp horror, he has not appeared. So Yeah, so guys, whenever Anne says in our group, we have a joke in our group chat. Whenever Anne says he's going to come on, we take it with a massive pinch of salt because we think he's talking bollocks. Basically, love you, Anne, but you are talking shite when you say you're coming on. So, and I can see Carl having a little snigger in the background there. So, but yeah, where do we start? Jordan James, Abdul Fatawo, and Yannick Vestergaard all scored on the score sheet for Leicester. I'm going to guess Annie has seen the highlights of this game, or at least the goals. But yeah, Jordan James, let's start off. Fantastic strike in the first 15 minutes to put Leicester ahead. Obviously, like we said before, Leicester have been kind of functional without being spectacular, but nevertheless, they obviously had a run of draws themselves. Previously drawn 1-1 away at West Brom, which isn't a bad point, but then obviously drawn 1-1 at home to Wrexham isn't particularly good for them. Obviously 1-0 up at half-time. Adam Eder equalises from the penalty spot with 20 minutes to go. Then Fatawu clearly looked at Jordan James's goal and went, anything you can do, I can do better, or at least, at the very least, just as good as that, because he curls in a screamer right in front of the travelling Leicester fans. And Fatawu in particular has got this in his locker. We've seen him, saw him score a fantastic goal away at Charlton. He scored a decent solo effort, I think, against Birmingham, if I remember memory serves me correctly. So there is definitely quality within that kid. And then obviously Yannick Vestergaard makes sure of the points very late on for Leicester. So obviously for Swansea, no disgrace in losing to Leicester, I think. Obviously it's been a mixed start for Swansea, but again, I think Leicester at home is not a game they would expect outwardly to win necessarily. And I think for Leicester, it's not been a bad weekend for them really, with Middlesbrough getting beat at Portsmouth and winning themselves, which despite not being fluently at the races, they're still 2 points off second. So they're keeping themselves pretty much in the hunt. Obviously the thing that will hang over them at the minute is the potential points deduction, which may or may not happen, and somehow that still hasn't been resolved yet, which is shocking. But nevertheless, not bad start for Marty Cifuentes, I would think.
Yeah, no, actually, a pretty good start. Still the best performing out of the 3 that came down, or the 4 parachute teams as a whole. So no, it's a good start for Cifuentes, and let me just check where Leicester are third. Yeah, that's a good. I'd say for them, they've
Yeah,
managed
absolutely.
to handle the chaos pretty well, haven't they? And they've
Steadying the ship, basically.
yeah, they look pretty decent, and we know about the quality they have within the team. Point production or not, they do have some serious quality, which can be enough to win some games on its own. So yeah, no real surprise Leicester are doing well, especially considering Cifuentes is a good manager. Just to flip it around, Swansea, they've had a few. I say it again, they've had a few home games where they've kind of gone. They've probably had chances or have been a bit unlucky, been a bit disappointed not to come out of the other side, and that might be the disappointing thing for Swansea this season, considering what is it? Watford at home, Millwall at home, Hull at home, 3 games where they've drawn, where they probably should have, if they want to be any sort of top 6 contenders, probably should be winning those. In 12th, not disastrous by any means, but only 1 win, I think, in the last 5 games from recent form. Yeah, 5 games. So need some more improvement. But away from home, they're not terrible at the moment. A good win in midweek. So yeah, fixtures unfortunately for Swansea will start to get a little bit more ramped up, a little bit more harder. So they'll probably be a little bit disappointed with the fact that they haven't quite managed to make full sort of what has been an okay start for them on paper.
Yeah, I mean, again, they're kind of in that. They're again in that sort of bracket. There's quite a few teams on 12 points. Actually, I've just realised. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want to say 6 teams. I think on 12 points. Which obviously, again, as we've said, it's all about how congested again the table is in the Championship. The next few games, they've got a trip to St Mary's after the international break, which where Southampton's going, you never know. The
Also
pressure will be
not
on Southampton. Yeah, pretty much. Then you have Swansea at the Liberty Stadium. If we're talking about sort of drawing games, these next 2 after Southampton feel like ones they need to be winning, which is QPR at home and then Norwich at home after that. Obviously, they've got Man City in the League Cup, but I think that's a free hit, isn't it? Obviously, so Charlton away after that. Then they've got Preston, and then obviously Charlton and Preston both away, and then Ipswich at home before the November international break. So look again. If Swansea at least are keeping themselves in the hunt at the moment, but yeah, if they're going to want to if they want to get themselves into the playoff campaign, then they need to start turning draws into wins, of course. And now the last one. So let's see how
That is
Leicester.
it, everyone. Thank you very much for watching.
Yeah, that's it. Right. Thanks very much for watching and subscribing and everything else and blah 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 blah.
Only 11 games in the championship this weekend.
Oh, so did Bristol City QPR get called off of like 2 minutes from the end with due
No, yeah.
to Annie Harris making it back from the Midlands and protesting on the pitch and then getting the referee to call the game off?
Don't know what you mean. Nothing happened. Nothing happened.
Nothing happened, says that, and then says CCTV. Oh, that's not me.
Where do I start? I don't want to start. I don't really want to start. Terrible, not great. Oh, actually, I take that back. It wasn't terrible. We were just hapless in front of goal again, and we just didn't finish our chances. Some big chances. And I mentioned earlier about someone who was at Stoke scoring at key points in the games. We don't score at key points in games. Haven't been recently. Didn't score when we should have done at Preston. Conceded at key points against Oxford, and then should have, even after it goes 1-1, where Richard Kone scores, there's at least one or two big chances there we should take, and we just put it in the back of the net at crucial points, and it costs us in championship teams. And I said this in my match review, when you've got a team like QPR, who have got the attacking quality up top, Kone, Saito, Dembele, Roman Burrell, Paul Smith, Harvey Vale. They don't need sort of 5-6 chances to score. They only need a little bit of pressure, and then they'll strike, and then you're going, how's that happened? So QPR are a good team. They'll be sort of in and around the conversation, I'm sure. They're moving quite nicely in the table and have been recently.
Done excellently since the 7-1 at Coventry.
Yeah, so no real shame in losing to them. But this feels completely self-inflicted. And if we're talking about the performance as a whole, it wasn't particularly great. Again, probably the flattest I've seen Bristol City this season, alongside Derby away, where we weren't particularly great either. And performances recently haven't been great. I'll be honest. It feels like it's kind of fizzled out. Ipswich in midweek was a good point. Yes, granted, but the performance again, I wasn't particularly sort of inspired by. It wasn't the performance you'd expect from a team, playing one of the favourites in the league and getting a point. It wasn't like sort of we stepped up our game and to match them. It felt like both sides were pretty meh, and we sort of mad it out, and it was a dross fest. And then obviously Preston away, we should have won that. It was a good performance. Excuse that. And then Oxford at home was pretty terrible, pretty hapless. So it needs to get better. I think the fear is that early season momentum we had, and we scored loads of goals and high pressing, high energy, getting in and sort of around oppositions and getting in their faces and sort of closing people down. Has that sort of slowed down a little bit, and have we sort of regressed sort of a little bit and back towards where we probably should be as a squad, which is around, well, I'd say where we are right now, which is about top 10, top half, ninth.
Ninth in the league, yeah.
That's probably the fear. And the concern for me is the fact that our performances recently have not been great either. And that's not sort of an overreactionary statement. I wouldn't have assumed. It's just something I've sort of noticed. And even, I think I've said it, even after we've won certain games, I haven't particularly gone, right, that was a great performance, we deserve 3 points. I mean, Sheffield Wednesday away was a classic example. We had a good 20 minutes. We had a great 20 minutes. And that was it. That's all we kind of showed. We stopped playing after that. And this is what we did against QPR yesterday as well. We kind of we weren't great for the first half. We were kind of just good enough, like okay, probably deserved to take the lead, and then we stopped playing. We just sitting ducks, didn't do anything for 45 minutes, kind of expecting something to happen for us. And as I said, QPR have got the attacking quality to do you like that, and they did do us like that, unfortunately. So yeah, performance has got to improve, and oh my god, the narrative from the next game is going to do my head in, honestly.
Liam Manning derby. Forget Southampton Swansea. It's Norwich. Sorry, not Liam Manning. What am I talking about? That's Russell Martin derby. Forget Russell Martin derby. Liam Manning derby is where it's at.
Honestly, it's
By the
going to
way,
be.
version 2.0. You had Oxford last season. Now you got Norwich this season.
And
What a time to be alive.
we're the team going there and trying to cause an
Get him
upset.
sacked, in other words.
Well, that would be something, wouldn't it, if he's not sacked within these next 2 weeks? I don't know. That feels like a big game for a lot of reasons. Obviously, the narrative, and then sort of, can we get our season back on track? Can we go there? Can we stick the knife in and twist it, and then on whilst doing that, go, all right, see ya. We're gonna try and move up the table.
We put you near the relegation zone. Bye bye.
That's what I'm sure the aim will be, and I'm sure Struber will sort of look at the players right now and go, right, boys, he left you because he thought you weren't good enough. He thought them lot were better than what he had here. Why don't you go and prove him wrong? That will be the mentality that Struber will sort of try and phone in on the players, and hopefully the players respond to that. And hopefully we can go there and one game where I won't be a Liam Manning sympathiser, I don't think, and really try and stick it to him, please.
So announce Norwich City 2, Bristol
Yep,
City.
yeah, we'll be absolutely bad. 3-0, 4-0. Announce it, yeah.
We'll see how that happens. We've all been there, Annie. We've all been there.
Right. I will say, sorry, finally, QPR, good side. Very good side. They've got
Julian
that
Steffen's doing a really good job, to be fair.
Yeah, they were very impressive, and I thought they were one of the best sides we've played this season. Second half, they controlled. They didn't allow us to do much. And when I say, we didn't do anything, they were quite good defensively. Dunn, Steve Cook, Liam Morrison, all very good. And the left back, whose name escapes me, but they look really good, QPR, and I would not be surprised if they're in the top 6 conversation for the rest of the season for sure.
But remember, I think the second tier podcast, I think it was, Ryan Jokes on there, put them as a dark horse for the doing well purpose. He's very high on Julian Steffen. Not in a way that makes it sound like he's smoking crack cocaine of anything of that description, but there you have it. Well,
no one was thinking that, Michael, until you said it.
No, I've just thought I'll put that elephant in the room. Yeah, right. I can see Carl's shit nodding his head in embarrassment there. So let's get onto the league table. So obviously, after game week 9 in the Championship, apart from obviously Blackburn and Ipswich, we have new leaders. We have Coventry City going at the October international break with only slightly scoring a few goals in 27. Then we have Middlesbrough scoring less than half the goals. Middlesbrough, what's the matter with you? 12 goals, obviously 6 conceded, but Middlesbrough in second in 18 points. The playoffs, teams all separated by a point, consist of Leicester, Preston, Stoke, and QPR. Completing the top half are West Brom, Millwall, Ipswich, Bristol City, Watford, and Swansea. And then, of course, as we descend into the bottom half of the league, we have Charlton Athletic propping up the bottom half with Portsmouth, Hull, and Birmingham all on 12 points alongside them. Still Southampton, thank God Reece isn't here, in 17th. Wrexham in 18th, of course, only a few points above the bottom 3. Liam Manning, Norwich, dark times for them at the minute. Obviously, commiserations to them after the Derby defeat, and we'll not have people see what Annie was doing while this was on screen. Derby County and Blackburn Rovers just above the bottom 3, and then in the bottom 3 we have Oxford United with the Steel City clubs right below them, with Sheffield Wednesday in 23rd, and still, I can't believe any of us would have said this after the start of the season, after 9 games on 3 points, Sheffield United. Chris Wilder, Sheffield United, just to put it out there. But yeah, had to get one dig in there. But either way, yes, that is the championship table. Thanks to everyone who has stuck through to the end and listened to my waffle. Thanks to Annie for putting up with it and joining me this evening. It's been obviously really good looking back at the championship, and yeah, we'll see him resume after the international break. And Carl's decided to do what Ant should have done and made an appearance. So Carl can be relied upon more so than Ant, basically. That's the moral of the story.
Very much so. I am very more reliant than Ant is. But yeah, look, thank you for everyone for joining the show. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Annie, as usual. Like I said, myself and Doug should be back on to do the 20 at some point later this week. As I say, it's Rebecca and Nathan's birthday over the next 2 days. So we'll
Hopefully
do
they
a
have a good
period.
time.
Yep, but we'll do some pre-recording. We should get it up around about Wednesday or Thursday of the outcome. But I am back on next Saturday to do the Saturday show. It will be a shorter version with myself and Reese because it's the international break coming up. We'll talk more about Russell Martin's situation as well, who will be the new manager coming in as well now, as that news has been broken not too long ago as well. So, but other than that, I said the championship, we were back with the championship review after next weekend, in the following week at around about 8:30, 8 as well. So thank you for everyone for listening in. And I will see you guys probably soon in the next couple of weeks. But have a good international break. I will see you guys soon. Thank you very much for listening. Take it for now. Bye-bye.
Bye.